Hello and welcome back to the INDYCAR Open Series Monday night top split here. We're here from none other than the famous Yard of Bricks, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, in its road course configuration that's been utilized since 2014 for the INDYCAR Series. They'll be taken to the course this weekend here at the famed Yard of Bricks on the road course, traveling the wrong way down the front straightaway here, Mark. And this is a track that, while recent in its current configuration, is one that's been utilized for the likes of the USGP for Formula One in previous iterations gone by, and it's a very tricky track to get around despite its very flat nature.
It most certainly is. For those of you who may notice a bit of a difference in the broadcast, we switched seats. My internet router decided it no longer wanted to be no longer wanted to be a part of my household this weekend, and so Jacob Collins is leading the broadcast tonight. I'll be in the color commentator seat, and yes, it is a very difficult course to get around because it is flat. There are very little or very few references as you travel the course. It's not like you can pick up a hill or a landscaping feature around here. It's very flat. You've got clear views all the way around, and it can be very easy to miss your braking markers. The other thing is there's just something that doesn't feel quite right about traveling down the front straightaway the wrong way. I can remember being at the first United States Grand Prix here when the Formula One cars came, and it was almost a shock to see cars turning right through what is now turn one. Of course, the F1 cars used the oval in turn one. The Indy cars make the bypass. Other differences down in turn one, they used the turn one from the Formula One road course, Jacob, but then they kind of cut off the section that we called Mickey, which is the first set of corners, and they also bypass turns 4 and 5. They have a little chicane to get onto Holman Boulevard. The second half of the course is almost exactly as you would see it in those old Formula One races, with the exception of they use the motorcycle portion that cuts out the banking in turn one, and I think they do that just to kind of soften up the speeds going down the main straightaway. Flip side of that is, Jacob, it really cuts out on a prime passing opportunity because you really lose a lot of slipstream time.
Yeah, and the big thing is kind of the re-entry back onto the oval's a bit more slippery than if we were just utilizing oval turn one. You've got that dip back into the infield on the inside of what would be oval turn one there that really does make it's a very tricky set of corners to get through there. You've got a very slow right-hander into another very slow left-hander, and then the traction zone getting back onto the oval is very deceptive, particularly on cold tires. We've seen it in times gone by, particularly getting onto those red alternate tires, trying to get off kind of the inside of the track there, very tricky. We're riding on board here with Daniel Falkingham, name we've seen a couple times in weeks gone by. The NASCAR Pro has been taking a bit to the Indy cars in recent weeks with the likes of this. We saw him win a top split Indy next race in the likes of Road Atlanta last season. So he's getting his feet wet on the speedway here in its road course configuration, getting the month of May kicked off, at least in some regards here. Esteban Rodriguez currently with the pole time of a 1:10 flat, perfectly dead even on down to the third decimal place. We'll see what Falkingham can do here on his first of 2 flying laps here in qualifying.
Yeah, we will. Another trouble spot. Everybody thinks about turn one here as we ride with Daniel Falkingham. He goes down into turn one. You see the yard markers, the feet markers on the outside. Those are really your only frame of reference to get down in there. But it's not that corner that I find the most dangerous and that we see the most calamity at. It's actually turn 12. You mentioned how slick it is to get back up on the oval at turn 11. But when you go braking down into turn 12, there's no reference to brake there, and you're going to see at least one rear end collision with somebody late braking into the back of the car in front of them in that corner.
Yeah, Falkingham's time currently sets him 5th on the board with a 1:10.681, just 1,000th off IAR's Rashad Craig. He's put in a solid first lap here. We'll see if he can improve here on lap 2. We're going to close out Falkingham's run here as he heads through the final left-hander on the course here. Is going to transition back onto the front stretch of the oval here, rounding the final corner. We'll see if this is an improvement for the driver of the 8 machine tonight. It will not.
It does not. Just for reference, Jacob, the qualifying record on this course a minute 7.704. That was set by Will Power. The race lap record, a minute 9, 388 from Joseph Newgarden. So we're not too terribly off. That record for Power set back in 2017, same for Newgarden. And that was when the pavement on this particular iteration of the Speedway, Jacob, was very, very new.
Yeah, it was very, very new, and I believe in 2017 they would have had more aero on the cars than we do now, because that would have been still universal aero kits, would it not?
That would have been the company aero kits.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
IR18 came about in 2018, so that would have been the custom aero kit era. And you're right; those cars produced an incredible amount of downforce.
Yeah, a lot of names and faces from across
And
the.
very
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
no, no, Jacob.
So we've got a lot of names and faces from across the open wheel community in the field tonight. We'll get to kind of touch on them when we get to the starting lineup in just a little bit's time here. Got the likes of now reigning reigning Formula Super Series champ Michael Costello, newly crowned just a week ago. He'll line up currently 14th in the 14 machine. We'll see what he can get up to in that IR18 coming from that SF23 last week.
You know, something I'm looking at, Jacob, with this starting lineup, we've got some heavy hitters up at the front. JT Smeaton, Esteban Rodriguez, Adam Blocker, Jacob Oster. Those are 4 pro quality level drivers up there. You've got a former series champion, Rashad Craig, in 6th. Daniel Ferguson, an 88.22 I rating. He's actually the #1 car starting 5th. That front 6 might be as stout as any that we've seen in this series in a good long time.
Yeah, you know, you've got the likes of Tanner DeFabis, Alan Berteau, Nick Sudik, Lucas Lodato, Jarrett Corey, reigning Indy Next Road Series champion. You know, Nadi Emmel, no slouch in his own right. There's not anybody I would consider a slouch in this entire field, Mark. And that's just kind of the special nature that the Speedway brings out. You get the heavy hitters coming out in force, ready to put their earnest on the line around the yard of bricks to etch their name into the virtual history books here.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you know, about the only driver that I would think off the top of my head, hey, they should be here, and she's actually in the chat is Anna Klemic. Anna would be the only one that I could immediately pop up with and say, hey, that's one that's missing. Everybody else that you could think of that really should be in this race, Jacob, really is. And the times up there, you know, they don't lie. You've got the top 10 within a second of one another. That's also fairly rare on one of these road courses as well. Usually you'll see a pretty big spread between the top 5 and then on down. Not so here. You've got 10 cars within a second of each other, and I would reckon anybody in that top 15 could win this race.
And we'll certainly have to wait and see. That turn #1 dictates a lot of things that could lock and happen in that run down to the first corner here. But we're just getting to the end of qualifying here. We'll give drivers a minute to get gridded up behind the pace car here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've got Lucas Lodato fans in the chat. We got Lilac Zero fans in the chat. We got everybody here ready to witness another one here from the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we'll wait for a couple more people to hit the grid to get ready to go here from IMS.
So 37 laps here for this one. We're going to see, of course, 1 pit stops. Drivers have to change between the red alternate and the black primary sidewall tires. Jacob, do we have any sort of reckoning as to what the fuel run is going to be here?
I want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 some odd laps, low 20s if I recall correctly. So it'll be a little bit past the halfway mark for certain as we watch the likes of Adam Blocker take to the grid here. It's going to be interesting to see as we're seeing most of the front runners opt for those black primary tires, likely going to try to extend the opening stint here as we'll get into the starting lineup as we're starting to see more cars hit to the grid here. So let's start with none other than the front row. And we've got our front row for certain. It'll be JT Smeaton on the pole with a 1:09.861. Alongside him will be Esteban Rodriguez in the number 4 machine, 1:10 flat for the driver of the 4. Power slide will lock out row 2. That'll be Adam Blocker alongside Jacob Oster, blue and green respectively. Daniel Ferguson will line up 5th in the WSR Esports machine alongside former series champ Rashad Craig for Indy Alliance Racing. Daniel Falkingham making use of the Oreo scheme. I believe that was one of Dale Jr.'s old Bush schemes, if I recall correctly, on that number 8 machine.
Free the Pig Newtons! Free the Pig Newtons! Free the Pig Newtons, Jacob!
Yes, and then we've got Eclipse Competitions Tanner DeFavis rocking I believe this might be a BMW-inspired livery to some regard. Not quite sure what he's got on there, but there's DeFavis. Alan Berteau still rocking the Fiercely Forward livery, rolls off in 9th alongside Nick Sudik, who's busting out a pink and blue machine here tonight. Lucas Lodato will line up in the 11th spot alongside Road Racing's Jarrett Corey in the 5 machine. Nadi Emil will line up 13th in that AlphaTauri livery. Michael Costello, likewise for Eclipse, will be in the 14 machine tonight. Thomas Van Kirk and Kevin Tomba from the Formula Super Series will be here as well. Kevin in the number 9 machine. Jared Wakefield for Grange Hall will line up 17th in the 17. Franco Machini will be 18th in the 19 machine. I believe that's going to be a Lionel Messi-inspired car. That's a fun one. Actually, that might just be the Argentinian flag. Regardless.
Yeah, that's going to be the Argentinian flag. Visit Argentina on the engine cover there, Jacob.
There we go. We got Griffin Yellen, also from Formula Racing Series fame. He'll line up 19th in the 24. Nelson Ulinski will round out the top 20. We'll get to the final 5 starters here with the likes of Nick Longman, Kenneth Smith, Lenny Brown, and Lilac Zier. Last car taking a time. Tyler Langenberg doing the classic Tyler Langenberg thing to do here. No time. He's going to be looking to march his way through the field here from the 25th spot here at Indianapolis.
He is, and we've seen Tyler Langenberg do that on several occasions. He does not normally finish where he starts. Tyler Langenberg likes the challenge, and so look for that 20 car to begin to come forward. Another one that I kind of want to circle from that midfield, Lucas Lodato. That's a guy that was in the Sim Gaming Expo INDYCAR Invitational. He is a very, very handy road racer. Look out for Lucas Lodato to maybe come forward a little bit in that number 13 car. As we see the Porsche 911, he's getting ready to come through the motorcycle course cutoff here, as I call it. That was an interesting race to behold here, Jacob. You thought cars around this place were nuts. That first Indianapolis Motorcycle Grand Prix was insane. Hurricane Force wins. Nicky Hayden trying to chase down Valentino Rossi on an inferior bike. It was quite the scene. Rossi won the race. Hayden faded to 3rd. As we get ready to go green here, Esteban Rodriguez will fall in line behind JT Smeaton. And we've got 37 laps of racing from Indianapolis.
We'll see Adam Blocker shoot to the inside here. He'll be alongside Daniel Ferguson. Ferguson will kind of ease Blocker on through here. They'll wind up single file back to Rashad Craig, who's alongside. I believe that's going to be Tanner DeFavis, who just makes the move on him. Move DeFavis to 7th. See Costello alongside Berteau. They're getting... Oh, Costello!
Whoa, we got car around. Yeah, Costello is around. Lodato forced to take evasive action. You've got the Franco Machini machine in trouble, and Jacob Oster has also gone off in the grass. Jacob Oster, I don't know that Oster hit anything. He just went around of his own accord on the back half of that chicane, Jacob.
Yeah, we'll maybe have to get another look at Oster's incident, but Machini was trying to take evasive action around the spinning car of Michael Costello. That'll take Costello out of this one early. He's got the meatball flag. We'll try to get another look at the Oster incident, see if we can catch what happened to him. So there he is in the grass. We'll go back a little further here, see if we can catch what happened to his machine. So here he comes through the chicane. He's going to come. Oh, and he just He just tailspins that car off the inside curb and goes around into the grass. Fortunately, well out of the way of other cars traveling along the course, so no harm, no foul for him, but he'll have to march his way back through the field here.
Yes, he will. Everybody more or less has started to string single file. Oster has rejoined the back of the field. Michael Costello is on the pit lane. His day likely done. And I don't think anybody else is going to come to the pit lane. Machini is staying out in that number 19 minus his right front wing, Jacob.
Yeah, we just have caught DeFabis going around at the end of the Holman straight there. Not sure if there was maybe netcode contact made with, I believe that was going to be either Daniel Falkingham or Daniel Ferguson there. So that'll send the 15 machine of DeFabis down the order. We'll see if he's able to charge through. He's one of the few guys that started on the red alternate tire. You can kind of see the little triangles on the right-hand side of the screen here. Front runner on the alternates right now is Alan Bruchot in that number 6 machine running along in 7th. Jared Wakefield and Tanner DeFabis now 12th and 13th. The next of those, and then you've got the likes of Griffin Yellen down in 18th, kind of the last of the cars in the top 20 on that alternate tire. But we have received confirmation that the primary tire is going to be the long stint tire, so it'll be interesting to see just how early these alternate runners opt to come down the pit lane here, Mark.
I do have a report on that incident down in the back end of the Holman straight. Jacob Oster went by Franco Machini, missed the braking point. He was just apologizing in the chat and launched himself straight over Lenny Brown. And Jacob Oster is going to be out of this race upside down at the end of the Holman straight. Lenny Brown with big damage to his number 21. He is on pit lane. We've got Franco Machini now coming into the pits as well. So 4 cars, early pedestrians here in the Indy Open top split at Indianapolis.
Let's kind of recap what we've got at the front of the field now as we get to the conclusion of lap 3 following a very eventful opening couple laps here. JT Smeaton leads Esteban Rodriguez, and you got Adam Blocker holding down the 3rd spot in that blue power slide machine. Daniel Ferguson and Daniel Falkingham, Daniel F's, holding down the bottom 2 portions of the top 5 here. Rashad Craig for IR sits in 6th. Then you go back to Alan Berteau in the 7th spot. Nick Sudik, Nadi Emil, Jared Corey, the top 10. You work your way past that, you got the likes of Kevin Tomba, Tanner DeFabis working his way back through the field following his spin at the end of the Holman straight. Jared Wakefield, Thomas Van Kirk, Kenneth Smith's currently around Lucas Ludato. Ludato's trying to make that pass back, so that'll be back and forth for a little while here. Lulinski, Langenberg, Lawnman, Yellen, and Zier. And then you've got Machini and Brown both nursing hopefully repaired cars at some point here around the speedway.
Yeah, Franco Machini and Lenny Brown have both pulled their cars off the pit lane, so they have rejoined the fight 22nd, 23rd. Michael Costello still sits in his car on pit lane under repair. Jacob Oster has ejected from the number 11, and so he is no longer a part of this event. Do want to kind of draw some attention to Kenneth Smith. He's racing in in what I could only describe as an Alex Blow / Alex Zanardi hybrid. It's got the DHL logos on it, but it's the old Target Lightning Bolt, and we would love to give Alex Zanardi his due. The IndyCar great, Formula One ace, recently passed away, and so Godspeed to Alex Zanardi. But there is a Zanardi car in the field. That's Kenneth Smith, and it's a good-looking machine, Jacob.
Yeah, kind of the iconic livery sported in the mid-90s by Zanardi in the then kart series. Was probably made most famous by that famous pass through the corkscrew at Laguna Seca for the lone win Zanardi scored at that facility. Of course, IMSA was there last weekend, so it's fitting for the likes of Chip Ganassi Racing to post a picture of just the corkscrew with no caption, giving their condolences to their former driver. It's a nice looking combo scheme he's got going on here with Kenneth here tonight with the Lightning Bolt and the current Ganassi sponsors of Pelot.
It is indeed. Do want to note, Jacob, everybody's kind of gotten strung out in single file. There's no real close contact for position on the course other than this battle between Smith, Olinsky, and Langenberg. Everybody else has got at least a half a second between them. JT Smeaton still does lead it from Esteban Rodriguez. Adam Blocker has started to reel them in, though. He was 0.3 faster than Smeaton and 0.4 up on Rodriguez. the last time through, and he's threatening to bring Daniel Ferguson with him.
Now let's actually hop back up to kind of that third place spot with Blocker. Actually, we'll watch this battle as Smith gets under fire from Linsky into turn 1 here. We'll see if anything happens in the opening couple corners here, and then hop up to that battle for kind of second, third, and fourth. Do that now, and here's Rodriguez. He's trailing off of JT Speeton, and you're going to watch the Dark Knight, Adam Blocker, start to lurk into the picture here. He's got Daniel Ferguson followed behind him. Daniel Falkingham's kind of fallen off of this group here. He lingers about 2.5 seconds back, as we'll get gaps up on the screen now to indicate the gaps between each car on the course rather than to the overall leader here, as Speeton continues to lead Rodriguez here as we work on to lap number 7 from Indianapolis.
Yeah, and you got to wonder what the grip levels are like. This track always, Jacob, very much a compromise. Do you want to trim the car for ultimate top speed at the end of what is one of the longest straight line runs in all of road racing? Do you want to add downforce so you're quicker through the infield? There are multiple different solutions to extract a good lap time here, and it's going to depend kind of on the setup as to even whether or not you can make a pass. Really, it's usually only the low downforce cars that can make a run that gets them positioned alongside one of their competitors. The problem is if they don't complete that pass, they're not going to have any grip when it comes time to turn the car. And these corners are very high load, very high grip, especially that section that you're seeing right there. The second half of the course, as it used to be called, Mouse, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Those are very high leverage corners, right? So very high leverage corners, 9, 10, 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so you got to be mindful of your tires. You got to be mindful of what setup you have in the car, because those can catch you out. We saw it happen with Jacob Oster at turn 6. It's another high leverage corner.
Yeah, you're putting a lot of emphasis on the front end of the car here, particularly on the back half of the course, kind of the very sweeping corners. You kind of can unload the car around the front tires just by having it a little bit too gripped up on the front half of the car, especially when you get onto the brakes and put a big amount of wheel to get that car turned around these kind of sharp 90-degree corners that kind of pose the bulk of the lap here at Indianapolis. As we ride along with Nick Sudik here, friend of the show. He's working down towards the end of the home and straight here on the back of Alan Bruteau. And this is kind of where we're going to see just how much those alternate tires are going to fall off here for Bruteau. So we're kind of reaching the crossover point. Is that last time around, Sudik was only 300 slower than Bruteau ahead. We'll see what it looks like this next time around.
And of course, those are two teammates. What I meant by high leverage corners, you can see Nick Sudik. He's almost sashaying through that. He's almost sashaying through that 8, 9, 10, 11 complex, and you can see the car visibly sliding around. There's a lot of load on the front and rear of the car. And you mentioned Bruteau with the Reds. He's going to have to be careful because you can burn those up in a hurry, and he's going to have to make them last for really, Jacob, another, what? Call it 8 laps?
Yeah, at least another
7, 8 laps, probably.
8, maybe another 10. Last time around, Sudik was just 0.2 faster than Bruteau, so he is starting to make inroads on the driver of the 6 machine. But he's also under fire from Nadi Emil, as we see Emil go past at the end of the Holman. We'll see if Emil can maybe make a charge here towards Bruteau here.
Yeah, and that's a great place to do it. Come down Holman straight, get on the button, deploy the hybrid, and really let the car eat. You can also break into that corner very, very late, Jacob. And that's so that's a prime passing spot. That's almost a better spot to pass than the end of the front straight, in my opinion.
You've got kind of a tricky corner with that chicane that opens up the back straight. So if you can get a good exit, you can get a really nice run down the back straight. You get on that button, get on the hybrid, can get a bit of extra boost off the corner. That can go a long way. So we watch Emil start to close in further on Bruteau ahead. We'll keep an eye on that as it progresses. The gap at the front has started to dwindle ever so slightly. as Rodriguez now just 4/10 off the back of JT Smeaton. Blocker another 6/10 back of Rodriguez. So that's 3 cars underneath a 1 second blanket, and then another second back to the likes of Daniel Ferguson in the 4th spot.
Yeah, and that's one of those deals too, Jacob, where the third car in line is actually the fastest. Second car in line is second quick, and the slowest one is the one leading the race. Daniel Ferguson is also right there. So you're going to have a 4-way fight for the lead before too much longer. Adam Blocker is in the slipstream of Esteban Rodriguez. The Dark Knight is coming. See if he can't wrest the lead away from the 2 teammates at the front of the field.
Come through the opening couple of corners, or sorry, the closing couple of corners here as we're working back onto the front straightaway here.
So weird, isn't it? It's so weird to think of that as not turn 1, but it is. I promise you, the first time I saw Formula 1 cars coming around there the wrong way, I did a double take.
I think the big thing is it just goes to show how symmetrical this track is, kind of front to back, if you will. You know, you've got these long sweeping rights that open this up, and you've kind of got a bunch of long sweeping rights that close off the lap with that re-entry to the infield, kind of the left-right back onto the oval. But we're working down the backstretch here as Blocker continues to slowly close in on Smeaton and Rodriguez, those Nexus Esports machines up ahead of him. Bright neon yellow.
Now, Blocker would have had experience here in the IndyCar Pro Series. You see the Thrustmaster emblem on the back of that car, indicative of a Pro Series driver. Same for Esteban Rodriguez. And so those drivers would have had pro-level experience here in the series that pays the big money. And so their setups are likely very refined, Jacob. Probably not so on some of the other cars. And so that's going to be a huge advantage for someone like Adam Blocker. Same for Esteban Rodriguez. The other part of that is that they will have done a ton of laps to prepare for those races.
Yeah, and I think the big thing I learned talking a lot with Sophie Connell as she was trying to sort things out for her setup coming to this track this week is the car is actually significantly slower than the last time we had come here, at least in terms of outright speed. Now, some of that could be the weather being a bit different than the last time we've come here. A lot of it's going to be due to the added weight of the hybrid and just how the overall tire model and car handles now following all the various updates iRacing's made over the last 6 to 9 months here as the car's kind of rapidly evolved across all its various aero configurations and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see what people have to say following this event as to maybe some of the things they've figured out that differed from some of the last times we've been here, Mark.
Yeah, the tires are definitely not as sticky. They wear a lot more differently. The car itself doesn't have as much aero downforce as it once did. It doesn't have as much mechanical grip. It's a little bit more draggy. And then, you know, the hybrid, you know, you would think that it would be an added, it would be a performance gain, but in reality, you know, they've stuck a 100-pound lead weight in the back of the car. And for most of the lap, it does not propel you forward. If anything, charging the hybrid is mechanical drag. And so we've seen that on the ovals where if you go to regen, you actually slow down quite a bit. It's the same thing on a road course. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they're doing it braking in the corner. It's almost like a brake assist, right? It's extra mechanical drag. If you have a hybrid car at home, you notice the same thing. You slow down, you coast down quicker. The speed drops away faster. When you go to brake, you stop quicker. That's the hybrid system doing its thing, and it does have a performance impact, and it's not all positive, Jake.
Yeah, it's kind of been what most drivers in the real world have accumulated to kind of a net neutral, if you will. Its benefit is basically kind of cut out by the added weight and the handling adjustments that are made to the car here. Obviously, a lot of things have changed over the original iteration of the DW12, now kind of labeled as the IR18, over the course of this chassis lifespan, including the introduction of the hybrid system. We've got a lot left to cover left this week as we kick off the month of May proper. Following this, I will be covering the Indy Next Road Series here from the same course you're seeing on the screen now, that Indianapolis Grand Prix course that'll take place at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night with some Taco Tuesday Cinco de Mayo coverage of the IndyCar Oval Series top split from the Indianapolis Oval. That'll take place 8:15 Eastern Time. Gary Godso, as usual, on the call for that one. We'll follow it up with the Indy Next the Indy Next Oval Series taking on the Mexico City Oval, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be quite a special occasion. I actually didn't do that on purpose. That just so happened to line up perfectly. So happy Cinco de Mayo to those that celebrate. Wednesday night, the Horizon INDYCAR Series. Mark Murphy will be covering that, 8 p.m. Eastern Time from Texas. Thursday, AMA Grand National Series action from Watkins Glen. That'll be 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Friday night, the INDYCAR iRacing Series back here from the Indianapolis Grand Prix course. That'll be 4 p.m. Eastern Time alongside AMA Grand National Series trucks, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And P1's coverage of the first top split of the fixed Indy 500, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then lastly, Sunday, Classic INDYCAR Series from the Mexico City. I believe that's going to be the road course at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we're back here for more coverage of the month of May here on P1. So we continue to watch
Jacob,
the battle in front of the field.
It is a busy, busy month, and this race, just like in real life, kind of really kicks it all off. You know, I've often said that by the time May is over, a lot of us are kind of sick of Indianapolis. That's why the P1 600 takes place at Michigan. It's not here. After a month of being in Indianapolis, the first Saturday in June, we go to Michigan just because I think everybody's tired of Indy.
Change of scenery never hurt anyone, and we're starting to get to about the halfway mark in this race. We may start to see pit stops being made. Bercho has fallen down the order since we kind of started rolling through continuing coverage throughout the month. He's down to the 10th spot behind Nick Sudik now. Trails by about a second, so those alternate tires are finally starting to show their age proper now. Last time around, Berto was nearly a second and a half slower than Sudik.
Yeah, he's going to be in trouble. He's going to be in trouble from Kevin Tomlin here in another couple of laps. Those red alternate tires have not held on for Alan Berto. He's looking at being at a deficit pretty much to everybody around him. And for Alan, it's just a matter of, one, I want to hold on to my teammate Nick Sudik in front of me, and two, I need that lap counter to start moving forward a lot more quickly, Jacob, so that I can come in and swap off of those things. The alternate tire, not the choice to go long here, but Berto, he's got a shot at it. And look, the reverse is going to be true in the second stint. Alan Berto is going to be able to come back out on the primes and win on the black primary tires. And Jacob, when the blacks fall, when the red tires in front of him fall off, he's going to be in position to pounce. So we saw it take about 13 laps for that to happen. So just kind of circle that after we make our next set of pit stops.
Yeah, the important thing for Berto is he'll peel off to the pit lane. As he stayed fairly close to the likes of Nick Sudik and Jared Correa ahead of him, kind of in their drafts. We'll see where he cycles out once this pit cycle concludes, if he's going to be able to maybe rejoin them or overtake them through the undercut here. Looks like he'll be joined by a couple other cars, as it looks like at least one other has peeled to the pit lane. We'll see. No, it might just be Berto. I think we'll double check that.
Yeah, it was Berto. It was Berto. It was only Berto. The only other car that's on the only other two cars that are on the red alternate tires that have not yet stopped are Jared Wakefield and Griffin Yellen. Those are the only two that are still out there on their original set of reds. Both of those drivers well down the order. Wakefield 13th, Yellen in 18th. Neither one of them elected to stop, and so Wakefield is under fire from Tyler Langenberg, who has moved up to the 14th position from shotgun on the field at the grid, and he's under a lot of fire from Tyler Langenberg. Langenberg going to try to throw it up the outside going down the Holman straight, see if he can make that move. But at least the other two have decided to stay. Now Griffin Yellen has pulled his car down the pit lane as well. But again, he's really the last. He's really the last of the people that haven't stopped. I'm watching Langenberg work on Jared Wakefield. That's a heck of a scrap, Jacob.
Yeah, Langenberg, of course, started 25th of 25 cars here today. He's worked his way about halfway through the grid now as he's trying to work over Jared Wakefield. Wakefield will peel down the pit lane this time.
Yes, he will. And so that means that everybody who started on the alternate tires has now brought it down to pit lane. Smeaton, Rodriguez, and Blocker still your front three. Daniel Ferguson is right behind Adam Blocker, and they have run away from fifth place Daniel Falkingham, Jacob. Now 7 seconds over Daniel Falkingham, these front four.
Yeah, certainly no slouch is Falkingham. Obviously, he's made the NASCAR Coca-Cola Series at least once, if not multiple times. Somebody can throw me his resume at any point in time here to correct me as to how long he's been in that series, but no slouch on the iRacing service is Falkingham. So it just goes to show how that extra level of experience and maybe the Pro Series background some of these guys have at the front of the field have been able to really hone this car, hone this setup to its highest potential here, Mark.
You know, you're a guy, I'm very much a one-car specialist. I only race the IndyCar. You, on the other hand, Jacob, you're the exact opposite. I think you've won a race in just about every car in the service. Talk to us about how in the world that helps you bouncing around from one car to another.
Well, I'll correct you. It's a little over a third, I want to say, of cars I've won at least in terms of the way iRacing counts them, because they count every NASCAR car separately and all that fun stuff too. But regardless, I think the big thing that I've learned over the time is that the more track time you get, the more situations you put yourself in, especially ones kind of in differing conditions, differing disciplines. It helps a long way in just getting a better idea of what you're capable of in terms of your overall racecraft and getting around the track, around other cars. It's, you know, you find yourself in different situations, and like, say, a dirt oval race where you're maybe having to get really comfortable running right near the walls, you know, with a very little amount of grip on a slick track. That can teach you a lot as you navigate maybe a very high usage, heavy marble covered street track. I found that that's been helpful for taking on, say, the likes of Long Beach, where you're trying to get that car as close to the walls as you can and keep it under wraps through the very tricky corners around there. It's just knowing where to take your strengths and pull from everything you've done and put it together in one nice package and make the most of it as you can.
Yeah, and that's something that I would love to do, is race in more different things. It's a matter of time, right? You know, there's only so many hours in the day, and you know, most of my hours are devoted when I'm not working or doing this with, you know, with family obligations and stuff. So, but it's always neat to see multi talented drivers, guys that can go from a stock car to one of these to a sports car. All the admiration in the world for you and Daniel Falkingham. He's doing a heck of a job. He's 2.5 seconds clear of former series champion Rashad Craig. So that tells you there he's no slouch.
Yeah, we'll watch Falkingham transition down the front straightaway here in that Oreo Fig Newton kind of cloud car. I think it might have a Pepsi logo or two on there as well. We'll navigate the opening couple corners here. Let's actually take a look at the battle for 8th, as Nick Sudik is closed in on Jarrett Corey for that 8th spot. Kind of the last couple fighting for position inside the top 10 here. Of course, you got that battle for 2nd through 4th between Rodriguez, Blocker, and Ferguson towards the front half here. Falkingham on an island all on his own. Craig's kind of in a similar spot, although Nadi Emmel is slowly starting to work his way towards Craig for the 6th spot. But this is kind of the next battleground here, as we're a little over the halfway mark here from the speedway. We're going to see these primary runners come down in due time, I expect.
Yeah, they're getting right to the edge of the fuel run. Nick Sudik has started to reel in Jarrett Corey in that Rogue Racing entry. This is 8th and 9th. Corey got by Sudik, and Sudik has made it back past Jarrett, or has made it back to the tail of Jarrett Corey. Now Sudik's going to peel off the pit road, Jacob. So the chess game has begun. When do you stop? Nick Sudik is the first to blink. He's got Nadi Emmel right in front of him.
Here comes Nadi Emmel down the pit lane. Sudik joins him. We'll see how they rejoin the track here. We'll go back to Kenneth A. Smith, who's made a pass on Alan Berteau. Or I guess Berteau's rather fighting for position with Smith here. This is for 15th. Smith has yet to stop. Berteau came down just 4 laps ago. We'll see how this kind of plays out if Smith opts to bring his IR18 down the pit lane. Very close call for Berteau.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of talking about at the top of the show, Jacob. Uh, it's very easy to misjudge the braking into turn 12 right there, and Alan Berteau barely got it stopped before he did the same thing Jacob Oster did with Lenny Brown to start the race. And Berteau, he's going to fly down the inside of Kenneth Smith. He's going to go past Kevin Tomba, who's on the pit lane as well. But Berteau is going to slot in behind teammate Nick Sudik by about 2 seconds. Now, Sudik is on cold tires, and so Berteau is going to have the advantage probably for the remainder of this lap. All Nick Sudik needs to do is stay in front of Alan Berteau, because he's going to have a massive grip advantage for about 5 or 6 laps after that, Jacob.
Yeah, we've seen basically everybody towards the pointy end of the stick come down the pit lane. Is Adam Blocker, Falkingham, Rashad Craig, Jarrett Courier all down the pit lane. So that takes the bulk of the top 10 down the pit lane. It's going to be Speeton, Rodriguez, and Ferguson now all at the front of the field here waiting to make their stops. We'll see when they come down the pit lane. We've got Speeton looking to put a lap down on, I believe that's going to be Kevin Tomba in that number 9 machine. So here comes Speeton down the pit lane. Rodriguez is going to go around one more time.
Daniel Ferguson also, I believe, dove toward the pit lane, and so it's just now Esteban Rodriguez at the front of the field, and that's an advantage for him. If he wanted to try to make an extra lap, this is the perfect perfect spot to do it. Nelson Alinsky, black flag, too fast, entering pit lane, so he'll have the 40-second hold. But Esteban Rodriguez has a great situation in front of him in a Kevin Tomba car that is on fresh Firestone red alternate tires. Tomba is going to be as fast now as he's ever been. Esteban Rodriguez can light-foot it around here and save a lap, and that's huge because we saw Alan Berteau, the Stickum is going to go off the red tires for these front runners before the end of this race.
Yeah, we'll watch Rodriguez here as he navigates back onto the oval in the short chute here towards that turn that turns us back in, where we almost saw Berteau get into the back of one of the cars here tonight. We'll see if Rodriguez comes down. This time he will. We'll actually watch the run into the pit lane here. Snotty Emil goes purple, 111.211 for the driver of the 7. We'll watch as JT Speeton works down the backstretch here. If he catches how close he's going to get to Rodriguez here. Works through the right, left, right. Heads towards the short chute now.
Yes, it does. And critically, Adam Blocker has really closed the gap on JT Smeaton. They are now right together. Blocker had begun to fall away from Smeaton earlier in the run, or later on in that first run. He is now right there on JT Smeaton. Adam Blocker on the button, and he is looking to see if he can't make the move on Smeaton going down into turn 1, Jacob.
And here they come down the front stretch. Smeaton's going to tuck to the inside. Blocker even further down. Rodriguez is going to join this fight right ahead of them. You see him navigating behind the lap machine of Lilac Zier. He's going to make that pass. So he's going to have about a second gap to these two cars battling for position. He's going to run a little wide there through the right-hander. We're going to navigate this chicane, and Zier's just looking to get out of the way here. She will. It's going to be a three-way fight for the top spot here, Mark.
It is. Both the cars behind Esteban Rodriguez on hot reds. Rodriguez's tires are still cold. If he is ever going to be vulnerable, it's right here through this next set of corners. JT Smeaton, Adam Blocker trying to strike while they've got the advantage. Through goes JT Smeaton for the lead.
And Rodriguez just ran a little bit wide there. Blocker's going to look to the outside here on the oval. Not going to be able to make a move back into the infield here. That'll put Smeaton in a good spot here to maybe capitalize and build up a bit of a gap here while Blocker's trying to navigate around Rodriguez here to get back ahead of him.
Well, and the other thing is Adam Blocker is at a disadvantage on JT Smeaton by one extra lap on his red alternate tires. Esteban Rodriguez has a 2-lap advantage over Adam Blocker on tires. And so while Rodriguez and Smeaton were vulnerable right there, Jacob, that advantage is going to swing into their favor once the tires get warm here.
So it's kind of these three cars under a blanket here. Daniel Ferguson about 4.5 seconds back in the 4th spot, and then another 3 back to Daniel Falkingham in the 5th spot. Rest of the field basically strung out here as we continue to watch the battle at the front here. 3 cars underneath a 1-second blanket here, try to duke it out for the top spots from Indianapolis.
Yes, they are. JT Smeaton has kind of started to edge away from Esteban Rodriguez, who started to kind of slowly build an advantage over Adam Blocker. This is the battle for the lead. There aren't any other 2 cars within a 1.5 seconds of each other around the course, and so we'll keep it right here with the lead just because this is the best battle on the track, Jake.
Smeaton's kind of made that gap stick around 0.75 seconds back to Esteban Rodriguez in that 2nd spot. Blocker's hanging in inside that 1 second mark. He's going to try to hold on to the draft for as long as he possibly can in case these 2 ahead of him get into a proper fight, as Ferguson will go purple with a 1:10.778.
Yeah, Daniel Ferguson has really started to flex his muscle in that number 1 machine. His problem is that he's about 4 seconds adrift of Adam Blocker. He lays down the fastest time of the day, 1:10.778. That's about a 10th clear of Adam Blocker's fastest lap. The only other car in that 1:10 bracket is Daniel Falkingham. Everybody else has been in the 1:11s. JT Smeaton just set his fastest lap, incidentally, Jacob, at 1:11.232. So the 2 leaders not outright the fastest cars, but they have been the most consistent, and they have the tire advantage over Adam Blocker.
Well, as is said, the lowest average lap time is what wins you the race. You could set one screamer, but if the rest of them are duds, they are duds. We're watching Esteban Rodriguez slowly inch back towards JT Smeaton here, as that tire advantage of just that couple laps going to be the separator here as we work to 11 to go. Or 10 to go, rather.
It could be. You never know when you get to lap traffic what's going to happen, and we saw it with Lilac Zier. It wasn't that Lilac was doing anything wrong. They just caught her in a portion of the track where literally there is nowhere to hide. And so some of this may depend on lap traffic. Adam Blocker has really begun to fade now, and I wonder, Jacob, if he pushed those tires so hard trying to get ahead at the beginning of the run that he's already cooked his reds, because Adam Blocker has really started to fade now. 3/10 slower than Smeaton the last time through.
Yeah, and Rodriguez was 0.6 faster, so that gap is increasing between kind of the car he needs to be closest to the most to stay in that draft window. They're going to work back into the infield here, hit the quick left. Smeaton's going to build out a bit of a gap this time around, I do believe. This is going to stretch to about 0.5 seconds here as they work back onto the oval.
Now, how nice is it, Jacob, to have a teammate right behind you like that? JT Smeaton really doesn't have anything to fear from Esteban Rodriguez. He knows he's not going to try to muscle up the inside of him like an Adam Blocker or Daniel Ferguson or Daniel Falkingham might do. How nice is that to know as these tires start to go off later on in the run here?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you know who you're working with kind of at the front of the field, right? Obviously, these guys have probably raced each other on countless occasions, if you will. So they know what they're capable of, and they know what they're probably going to do later on in the run here. Obviously, as the tires fade, it gets harder to make kind of those daring moves. So you got to be nice and controlled with it, and I think having names and faces you trust, I guess hands and feet that you trust behind you, is going to be the easiest thing to keep your car cool, calm, and consistent to flick these laps off.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you know, they're closing in on some lap traffic. You've got the likes of Jared Wakefield, just essentially about half a Holman straight in front of these drivers, right? So, you know, kind of note that. I mean, they're not all the way clear and out of the woods of there being lap traffic that could be involved, really. And there's about 5 or 6 cars that could obstruct the leaders here, and that's really what Adam Blocker needs to get back into this thing, because He has fallen now 2 seconds in arrears and continues to lose something like 2 to 3 tenths a lap.
Yeah, last time around it was about a tenth and a half. So certainly going to be interesting to see if lap traffic plays a big factor and he can wind back up in this fight for the top couple spots here. Rodriguez has kept it close. It's kind of, he gains a tenth, loses a tenth every other lap. He's going to gain one this time. Going to be within about 4 tenths as they exit back onto the front straightaway here from the speedway. Here they come down the front stretch. Both drivers on the push to pass. Rodriguez has a slight advantage in that department as we'll watch them get off the button here in due time. We'll look at the push to pass here. 118 for Smeaton, 133 for Rodriguez. Blockers used over half of it, sits on 93. Ferguson might have forgot where the button is. He sits on 200. Falkingham's on it right now in that 5th spot. You see Craig on 90, Emil 36, Falkingham 95. Jarrett Corey's on it right now. Sudik sitting around 70, using it right now. Berteau on 100, also on the button. So push is coming to shove here. These drivers are trying to get the last little bit they can in these closing couple laps, Mark.
Yeah, they are. And look, you know, I think pretty much every other position in the field is settled other than the lead. We're looking at Esteban Rodriguez chasing JT Smeaton. How's this going to play out? Is it going to be Rodriguez with a pass at the end? He's got the pro rear wing. Is it going to be JT Smeaton with that 8,500 I rating that prevails? That's what I'm interested in seeing. I don't know that there's any other position that's really in dispute at this point, Jacob.
No, everybody's separated by around 2 seconds apiece, and that's kind of just the nature of the beast with a pit cycle around here. We saw the entry for Rodriguez into the pit lane as he gets very close off the back of Smeaton into turn number 1 here. It's a very tricky pit lane to get into. It's a very tricky pit lane to get off of. You know, you've got a very long exit lane that kind of waits until after the pit wall until you can get off the pit limiter. And then you've got to navigate that very awkward, hard right on the inside right of the opening couple of corners there. That's very difficult as you kind of get thrown out right into traffic. Makes it very difficult to execute a pit stop around this course. But it appears that Smeaton and Rodriguez are going to have to decide it on the track here as they still sit within about a half second of each other with just a handful of laps to go, Mark.
Yes, they do, Jacob. And you mentioned pit in. It can be, this is one of the more tricky pit ins that we run, just simply, Jacob, because you're diving into it at a weird angle. You've got to negotiate the interior wall. And then pit exit is very difficult because you basically re-enter into the racing line at turn 1, which is the fastest part of the course. Guys are breaking down from 180 miles an hour all the way down to about 50 right as you see them run through turn 1 there, and you're exiting right into their path as they exit from that corner, and it's very difficult to judge. And so you'll oftentimes see incidents at that corner with cars exiting the pit lane. It can be really tricky, and that's where you see the separation happen like we do here, where there's a couple of seconds between everybody else. Jarrett Corey has now started to close in on Nadi Immel. That would be for 7th and 8th, but Corey's still about a second and a half away from turning that into a battle.
Yeah, and Rodriguez has maybe dropped a tenth, maybe 2 tenths this time on Smeaton ahead. Maybe just had a bit of a struggle on the opening half of this lap here. They'll get back onto the short chute here, head back into that very tricky right-hander, work their way through the last left on the course, and then head back onto the front stretch.
It's getting down time. You wonder if Rodriguez is just content to run second to his teammate here. You wonder how the tires are on JT Smeaton's car. Rodriguez has a lap advantage on his reds. And so by a lap advantage, we mean he's got one less or one lap fewer than Smeaton. And so if there's going to be any wear issues, they're going to show up for Smeaton first, and Rodriguez is going to have an extra lap of grip. And that, you know, that might be what this is down to. Then again, Esteban Rodriguez is not really pressuring JT Smeaton either.
And that could also just be part of the strategy as well, right? Is there's, you know, there's a risk and reward to applying pressure, even for yourself. And if he can linger, you know, just in this comfortable spot he is now and maybe make one solid charge at it with a lap or two to go, that's the only lap you need to lead is the last one, if you will. So we'll see if that ultimately comes to fruition here as they continue to break further and further away of Adam Blocker in that third spot, a little over 3 seconds now. That's kind of an even gap now between Blocker and Ferguson. Kind of the rest of the top four here. Falkingham lingers about 6 seconds back of Ferguson. Craig, Emil, Corey, Sudik, Berteau, the top 10. Now let's give a shout out to Kevin Tomba. He runs along in that 11th spot. Kept it on the lead lap, kept it clean.
Yeah, same for Thomas Van Kirk as well. Van Kirk is one that we see regularly in the series, in the Dunder Mifflin machine. It always gives me a chuckle when I see that one, Jacob. But he runs along in 12th. It's worth noting that Nick Longman is still going in that Alex Zanardi, Alex Palou kind of hybrid looking car. He's made up 8 spots since the start of this race. He started in 21st. Nick Longman in the 23, one of the last 3 cars in. He's got a chance to bring home a pretty good finish here too, Jacob.
And props to him. It's a tough track to get figured out here from the IMS road course. Working just a couple laps to go here as we've got 3 in the air. We'll get popsicle sticks next time around. As Longman crosses the start-finish line here, heads down towards turn number 1. We'll hop
Not
back.
the popsicle sticks, Jacob.
What? It's popsicle sticks. They point them up, straight up and down. They give you the two, and then they give you the little X at halfway and spin it around side to side. Mark, come on.
I will give you an interesting piece of trivia about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that I bet you do not know, and it has to do with the flag stand. So the next time that these drivers come through, if you look at the flag stand closely, you'll notice that it's shaped like something. It does not look like the traditional, box that the flagman would stand in. And the shape that you'll notice is one of a ship, which is meant as a tribute to the men of the USS Indianapolis, World War II cruiser that was sunk in the Pacific Theater. Severe loss of life. The flag stand at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is shaped like a battleship. I bet you didn't know that.
Well, the thing I do know is that we're going to get a white flag from a one Barney the Flagman in the air this time for JT Smeaton, who is properly pulled away from Esteban Rodriguez this time around. It's going to be one final time. If Rodriguez is going to make a move, he's going to have to do it soon here. He's going to close in turn number 1. Not close enough to get alongside. We'll watch them navigate the opening complex of corners here and see if he's got anything for the run down the backstretch.
Yes, he does. Esteban Rodriguez just not close enough to use his tire advantage on JT Smeaton. They're going to navigate through turns 8, 9, 10, and 11. He's got really one more braking zone if he's going to have a stab at it. That's going to be coming off of this right-hander, turn 11, down into turn 12, but Esteban Rodriguez just not close enough, Jacob.
And here they come through the final couple of corners. You see Longman ahead there. He's going to be the last car on the lead lap here. We'll watch Smeaton come down the front stretch for the final time. He'll pick up the win here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course to kick off the month of May. And we'll watch the rest of the field cross the line here as we'll hop aboard that flag stand here, or rather kind of off the front of it here from the Speedway. The rest of the field navigate the front straightaway here. There's Falkingham. Here comes Rashad Craig. Naughty Emil, as Emil comes down the front stretch now. Sear, Jared Corey for Rogue Racing there as well. And then Nick Sudik is going to barely hold off Alan Berteau as they come across the line. Berteau just a couple tenths of a second back. We'll wait for the rest of the field to cross the line and get you the finishing results here, Mark.
I need some finishing results. Still got Thomas Van Kirk and Nick Longman to come through. And kudos to those two. They finish on the lead lap in a star-studded field, and that's for those two drivers, that almost has to be like a victory as well, Jacob.
And here comes the Dunder Mifflin machine of Van Kirk. We'll see one more Alex Zanardi car make it around here as well. There's Longman, and that'll round out the 13 lead lap finishers from tonight's event. We'll run you through all 25 of them as we get to finishing results. We'll watch the two Nexus Esports machines do a bit of a victory parade lap here as we run through those finishing results. And here they are. JT Speeton with the win over Esteban Rodriguez. The gap just a little over half a second. Adam Blocker will round out the podium for Power Slide in the third spot. Daniel Ferguson, Daniel Falkingham, the rest of the top five. Rashad Craig, Nadi Emil, Rogue Racing's Jarrett Corey, Nick Sudik, and Alan Berteau round out the top 10. Work your way further back. Kevin Tomba, Thomas Van Kirk, and Nick Longman, last of the lead lap finishers. Jared Wakefield, Lilac Sear, Kenneth Smith, Lucas Lodato, Lenny Brown, all finished 1 or 2 laps down respectively. Franco Machini, Tyler Langenberg, 19th to 20th, out due to damage more than likely. Work our way further down the field. You got Nelson Ulinski, Griffin Yellen, Tanner DeFavis, Jacob Oster, Michael Costello. We saw Costello's incident on the opening lap here from the Speedway. He'll be looking to bounce back here for his real-world USF Pro 2000 race this weekend that I believe is also taking place at the IMS Road Course. We'll get
Yes, indeed. And Jacob, I'm looking for the interview room. We've already got Adam Blocker. You want to bring him in?
I will get his car up on the screen first. Got to track down that lovely-looking automobile for Mr. Blocker.
You know, I rather like their new paint scheme for him and Jacob Oster, Robert Maleska. It's very striking, very eye-catching. Adam Blocker's previous livery, for those of you who don't know, was more or less blue with a little bit of black trim. It almost kind of blended into the racing surface. Now it's very easy to pick out. I'm very much a fan of it.
Well, we'll get him on up here and maybe ask him about more than just the paint scheme here. Adam, Jacob Collins, Mark Murphy, P1 Broadcasting. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, a solid podium running for you here tonight. Walk us through maybe some of the things you figured out here tonight, as this is the first trip to the IMS Road Course, I believe, since the introduction of the hybrid system here on iRacing, alongside a host of other changes, including the likes of the tire. It sounded like there was a lot differing here than the last time we came to this track here.
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of used the setup based on another track, and honestly, I think the setup we had was okay. It definitely was probably on the loose side. For some reason, the weather that generated was a little bit looser, at least for our setup, but in the race. But I felt better in qualifying than race, which is I'm normally the opposite way. So, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was really just me. I kind of got mixed up on my fuel numbers a little bit and didn't get that extra lap I got 2 extra laps. I didn't have the pace to do that, but that JT and Fergie got. And then once I realized that, I was like, man, this is going to be tough, but I got to try to get past JT that one lap when he was on cold tires, or when they were on cold tires, and I just couldn't get it done. So after that, it was just trying to, preserve what I had. So.
Yeah, you talked.
So Adam,
oh, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, so Adam, you very nearly made that undercut work. Very much an unintentional one, we now know. If you could have got by those, two, do you think you could have held them off?
That's a good question. I kind of doubt it, but I think the other thing was that I slightly underfueled for the last stint. And so I had to save a little bit those last few laps, which definitely wasn't great. I think if I had taken the right amount of fuel and gotten by him, I maybe could have held off one of the two. I thought Esteban was faster than JT the whole race. So that's why he was sitting so easily, so close behind him, and was able to save more fuel. I was surprised that he didn't, just take the win. But I felt like maybe I could have, maybe held off JT. I mean, I certainly would have tried, did all I could. But.
Sure. For sure.
Yeah, certainly always tricky to try to capitalize when the iron's hot in those very tight windows in the pit windows here from IMS. But you pick up a podium result here, Adam. You know the drill. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody to like to shout out, floor is yours.
Yeah, just everybody at Power Slide for the setup and everybody for the strong turnout, and yeah, and y'all for supporting the series. And next week is Indy, so that should be fun. So see you then.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of laps going the right way around here instead of the wrong way, aren't we, Adam?
Yeah, that's for sure. So
Well, good to see you, buddy. Keep going fast and having fun. You hear?
yep, see ya.
That is Adam Blocker, and now Jacob Collins will bring in JT Smeaton, tonight's winner. How about that?
Yeah, we'll throw Esteban Rodriguez up here for a little bit. I did try to hunt him down. We'll see if he straggles on in here. Actually, we've got him. Look at that. I managed to catch him.
How about that? You see, you're the man. You can find people. You can find people in Discord. I always manage to make that worse.
Well, we've got Esteban up in the booth now. Jacob Collins, Mark Murphy. Esteban, you got us?
Yeah, I hear you guys.
Well, you put on a solid performance here, holding right off the back of your teammate and JT here tonight. Kind of walk us through what looked like maybe it was going to come down to one final move late in the going here, but it's not close enough to make anything happen here.
Yeah, I thought I had him covered on pit exit, but I ran into a lap car and that really just halted my progress. And then I underestimated how bad the cold tires were going to be. Plus, I got into marbles, so that was just a disaster on the outlap. But yeah, I mean, I maybe had a few good attempts there. I perhaps could have been a little more aggressive, but he was my teammate. I didn't want to send it too hard or risk our 1-2 finish. So I think maybe 5 laps into the alt stint was probably my best shot. And after that, following behind him, just slowly but surely started to like kill my tires. So yeah, I mean, he drove a great race. We came up with a great setup. Shouts out to Jason Middleton. He does all our setup work. And yeah, I'm really happy with that result.
You know, you should be. How scary was it when you encountered the lap car, Lilac Zier, fresh out of the pits, and you had Adam Blocker bearing down on your tail, knowing that his tires were hot, yours were cool, and that was really his kind of shot to win the race.
I definitely had one eye in my mirror and one eye looking up ahead and to my side when I was side by side with Lilac. That was really difficult. Plus, I heard that I was in the marbles. I felt it too. And then when I tried to like apply power exit of 3, the car was just sliding everywhere. And then that fast chicane in cold tires is a nightmare. So I backed it up there too. And before I knew it, they were just bearing down on me. And like my teammate got by me. And I was like, oh man, let me just focus on getting these tires up to temperature before I stuff it in the wall.
Well, kept it out of the wall you did. We'll put you P2 here tonight. A good way to start off the month of May here at the Speedway. You know the drill, friends, family, sponsors. Anybody like to shout out? Esteban, floor is yours.
I just shout out to Nexus and our INDYCAR group, Jason Middleton, my teammate JT. We all do great work over here, trying to win week in, week out. Hopefully we can continue this momentum. And shout out to you guys for the great broadcast as always.
Well, thanks for joining us up here in the booth. We'll hopefully catch you out next week as the series heads to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Oval to go the traditional direction around the Speedway here.
Thank you guys. Have a good night, y'all.
That'll do it.
Hey, you do the same, boss.
That'll do it for second place Esteban Rodriguez, and we'll get his teammate, one JT Smeaton, up in the booth here. Nice scheme for him. JT, Jacob Collins, Mark Murphy, P1 Broadcasting. You got us?
Yep, I do.
Well, you held on to the top spot pretty much all night long, barring the pit cycle here, JT. So to kind of walk us through what it took to hold on to track position here, as this is a very tricky track to get around, even in spite of the relatively flat nature of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think this track was. We always knew coming into this race that this track would be pretty good for overtaking compared to Long Beach last week. But yeah, it was a tough race, just keeping everyone behind. thing is with all these straights and stuff is the guys behind you, they're able to feel save, and we saw with my teammate Esteban, he was able to go 1 lap longer, which I was a little worried about at the time because he would have 1 lap fresher tires than me. But yeah, it was very tough to defend from him. I was just pushing every single lap trying to keep him behind, but yeah, he drove a great race and really happy for us.
You have to be really happy with a 1-2, JT. Talk to us a little bit about momentum, right? What do you feel like this does for you guys headed into 2 weeks of the Oval here at Indianapolis?
Yeah, big momentum for sure. We're in the month of May, so we better get used to seeing this place because we're going to be driving it basically every week this month. But yeah, looking forward to it though. This is really my first real experience of the month of May in the IndyCar community, so looking forward to it. But yeah, I think we just gotta keep our head down, keep doing the work that we're doing. Our group, we're doing a really good job at the moment, so I want to keep continuing this. The job's not done.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much for your time. Mr. Collins, send him away.
Well, you know the drill, JT. Friends, family, sponsors. Anybody like to shout out? Floor is yours.
Yeah, of course. Firstly, big shout out to Nexus, our little IndyCar group. Big shout out to Jason Middleton. He built a hell of a setup for this race. Big shout out to my teammate Esteban as well. And big shout out to everybody in this race. I mean, it's really, really cool to race all these pro guys like Adam Blocker, my teammate Esteban, of course, and Jacob Oster. Of course, he had a little unfortunate incident, but I'm just so grateful to be able to race these guys because, I mean, just a few months ago, I was watching the Pro Series and dreamed of racing these guys. So I'm so grateful to race these guys.
Well, now you've done it. Now you've beat him. So hopefully you can keep that momentum going forward for the next time the Pro Series comes around. Keep going fast and having fun, buddy. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That'll do it for tonight's winner in JT Smeaton, and that'll do it for the kickoff programming here on P1 for the month of May. And boy, howdy, do we got plenty of it left to come here, Mark. Speedway left, speedway right, speedway up, down, every way. Hope you like rectangles.
I hope you love rectangles, and I hope that you love really, really high quality racing action, because the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in this car is as good as it gets. It's going to be kind of a curveball this year. It's a situation where, for the last 4 or 5 years, teams have really refined their setups, and we had a rather thick notebook with the addition of the hybrid system and the new tire model. The things that we used before, Jacob, they don't really work anymore. And so everybody's kind of in a scramble, and everybody's kind of working hard to figure out what it's going to take to make the big show come this weekend and next. There's going to be 2 of them, of course, the official time slot, and then there'll be one here on P1. And there's going to be a mad scramble to get in the top 33. So you're assured of a spot in both of those races. And I look forward to being a part of that mad scramble. I don't know how much time I've got to devote to it, but I know that our team has been down there working hard, Jacob, and it's one of those things where you can rest assured there's at least another couple hundred guys that are working just as hard as you are.
Everybody getting every axe on every grindstone they can find. You have no doubt that they're gonna wanna kiss the bricks at some point throughout the month of May here, and we'll see who comes out on top in each and every one of those races throughout the month. But for this one, it's gonna be JT Smeaton for Nexus Esports. We thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and Mark, you could take it away and lead us out from the Speedway for the first time this month.
I want to thank Jacob Collins for stepping in and doing this, because, as I said at the top of the show, my internet, my router went south yesterday during a family gathering. I've had no internet in my house for 24 hours. I'm here able to do this with a cell phone as a hotspot. So Jacob took over the streaming tonight. Big props for him. If the broadcast seemed a little weird at times, that's because I don't think that you and I have ever had our roles reversed. And so tonight we got to do that. And so thank you to you first and foremost for being flexible and making sure that the show still went on. We have to thank all of the drivers on the track for giving us an amazing race this evening. We got to thank all the fans in the stands. It was another massive turnout, but most of all, we want to thank the people that really make it possible: the military, the police, the firemen, the EMTs, driving the ambulance, and Jacob Collins. the nurse that unloads you when you get there. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you all. Get ready for a month of rectangles, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you at the next one.